It was supposed to be just another quiet Saturday morning at the local community gym in Austin, Texas. The place was usually filled with regular folks, parents sneaking in a workout before soccer games, teens trying to impress, and old veterans stretching stiff joints on worn-out mats. That morning, no one expected the billionaire himself to walk in. Julian Carrington, tech mogul, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, rumored to have trained with UFC champions and rolled with the Gracies in Rio. He owned half the valley and probably the gym, too. No entourage, no fanfare, just walked in barefoot, tied his black belt with a casual flick, and scanned the mat like a lion bored in a cage. Most people moved out of his way. All except one. A quiet man in a faded gray hoodie was helping his young daughter tie her shoelaces in the corner. His cauliflower ears and heavy shoulders gave away his past. Some recognized him, most didn't. That was Jack, a single dad, former special forces, Purple Heart, purple belt. These days, he worked night shifts at the VA hospital and mornings as a janitor. His daughter, Ava, was his whole world. Julian's eyes locked on him. "You roll?" the billionaire asked, stepping barefoot toward Jack like this was the only person in the gym worth his time. Jack stood up slowly, taller than expected, calm, no arrogance, just a quiet confidence worn by men who've seen too much. "A little," Jack replied with a half-smile. Julian grinned. "Spar with me." Everyone turned to watch. You could feel the shift. The tension. Jack nodded politely, kissed Ava's forehead, and walked toward the mat. They touched fists. At first, it was playful. Julian swept low, trying a quick trip. Jack countered effortlessly, light on his feet, defensive but graceful. The billionaire smirked, ramped it up. His movements got sharper. He tried to trap Jack's arm. Jack slipped out like water. Then Julian went for a shoulder throw, clean, fast, but Jack didn't fall. He flipped in the air and landed in side control, pinning the billionaire gently, not aggressively, just enough to show he could. Julian tapped. Silence. Then someone whispered, "Wait, what just happened?" Julian blinked, sat up, stunned. "You're good," he said, breathing heavily, staring at Jack like he wasn't sure who this man was anymore. Jack just smiled and offered a hand to help him up. "Special forces?" Julian asked, still catching his breath. "Once," Jack replied, pulling him to his feet. And then, the moment that no one expected. Ava, Jack's little girl, walked onto the mat holding a juice box and looked up at Julian. "You're really strong," she said. "But Daddy's the strongest person in the world." Julian knelt down, his eyes softening. "I believe you," he whispered. After the spar, Julian didn't leave. He sat beside Jack, asked questions, not about combat or training, but about Ava, about life, about how Jack balanced so much with so little. Jack shrugged. "You do what you have to do when someone needs you." That night, Julian made a few calls. Not for show, not for headlines. Quiet moves. 3 days later, the gym announced a full-ride scholarship program for veterans and their children, funded anonymously. Jack never said anything, never asked for a thing. But one evening, he got a letter in the mail. No return address, just a simple note. "Some people spar to prove strength. Others live it daily. Thank you for showing me the difference, Jay." Inside was also a certificate of ownership. Half the gym was now in Jack's name. Ava framed the note. Jack framed nothing. He just smiled and said, "Come on, sweetie. We've got work to do." It started with a whistle and a thud. The sound of bare feet hitting mats, the snap of a GI collar, the low hum of breath. Control and focus. But no one expected a billionaire to be on the mat that morning. Julian Carrington, BJJ black belt, investor, and head of the fastest-growing tech empire on the West Coast, walked into the community gym unannounced. No cameras, no PR team, just a man with calloused hands, a steel gaze, and a black belt tied around his waist like it meant more than money ever did. "Looking to roll?" he asked the front desk kid. Sure, sir. There's a few in the back." Julian didn't want a few. He wanted one. A challenge. Something real. That's when he saw Jack. A broad-shouldered man, kneeling beside a 6-year-old girl tying her pink shoes with bunny ears. His hoodie was frayed at the sleeves. His hair still damp from a rushed morning shower. He looked up, quiet, calm, and in his eyes, years of storms survived without a word. "You train?" Julian asked, already knowing the answer. Jack nodded. "Here and there. You're a vet." "Used to be. Now I mop floors." "Purple belt." Jack smiled faintly. "Doesn't matter." Julian gestured to the mat. Let's see. They bowed. It started slow. Julian tested him, pressure, pace, rhythm. Jack flowed around him like a man who didn't fight to win, but to protect. There was no ego, no flash, only skill built from necessity. And then, Julian went for a wrist lock. Jack slipped, pivoted, and in seconds had him mounted, calmly controlling every breath Julian tried to take. Tap. Silence. The gym froze. Julian, for once, looked up not as a billionaire, but as a student. You held back, he said. Jack didn't answer. He simply walked off the mat, picked up his daughter, and kissed her forehead. Time for pancakes, baby. Julian stood, stunned, not from the tap, but from the humility. The stillness in Jack's eyes. He followed them outside. Why didn't you finish it? Jack paused. Because I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just didn't want her to see anyone hurt. Julian looked at the little girl smiling at her father. A man who had nothing, but gave everything. Do you work nearby? Jack nodded. VA hospital at night. Clean buildings during the day. A week later, Jack received a call. He thought it was a prank. It wasn't. The billionaire had transferred a year's worth of funding to cover Jack's daughter's education. No strings, no spotlight, just a handwritten note.